The Cosa Nostra, often referred to as the Sicilian Mafia, is one of the most powerful and infamous criminal organizations in history. Below is a detailed breakdown of its history, structure, sources of power, weapons, activities, and law enforcement. Response. Origins and history. Early origins. The term mafia emerged in Sicily in the mid-19th century. It possibly derives from the Sicilian adjective mafioso, which meant bold, proud, or defiant. The roots of the Cosa Nostra lie in feudal Sicily, where landowners relied on campieri, guards, to protect their estates and enforce control. Over time, these evolved into private armies and protection rackets. Formation. By the 1860s, as Italy unified, state structures weakened in rural Sicily, especially in Palermo. The mafia filled the power vacuum, offering protection, settling disputes, and controlling commerce. The term Cosa Nostra, our thing, became popularized in the 20th century, especially post-World War II. 20th century evolution. During Mussolini's fascist regime, a major crackdown drove many mafiosi underground or into exile, notably to the US. After WW, many returned. The mafia reasserted dominance in land reform, construction, and the black market. The 1960s-1980s saw the rise of the Second Mafia War, culminating in violent internal conflicts, assassinations, and the dominance of the Corleonese faction under Salvatore Riina. 1990s-2000s. A wave of high-profile murders, e.g., anti-mafia judges Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino, triggered a massive state crackdown. Riina's arrest in 1993 marked the beginning of a decline, though the organization still operates in a low-key manner today. Structure and organization. Cosa Nostra is structured hierarchically. Family, Cosca, the basic unit, led by a boss, capo, underboss, sotto capo, second in command, consigliere, advisor to the boss, capo regime, captain who leads a crew of soldiers, soldati, made members who carry out orders, associates, non-made members involved in activities, often outside Sicily. Each family operates independently but respects the authority of the commission, cupola, especially for interfamily matters. Sources of power and income. Primary income sources: extortion, pizzo, forced protection money from businesses, drug trafficking, particularly heroin, starting from the pizza connection in the 1970s-80s, arms. Trafficking, money laundering, public contracts, infiltration of construction, waste management, etc., gambling and loan sharking power, maintenance, omerta, code of silence, cultural norm that discourages cooperation with authorities, political connections. Historically, mafia had strong ties with local and national politicians. Fear and intimidation. For weapons and tactics. Weapons used: firearms, pistols, shotguns, AK-47s, and automatic rifles, explosives, for car bombings and political assassinations, knives or blunt objects for executions meant to send a message. Tactics: assassinations, strategic hits on rivals, judges, journalists, and officials. Intimidation: use of threats and public killings to control territories. Bribery and corruption: influence law enforcement and politics. Infiltration: quietly placing operatives in key positions of business or politics. Law enforcement and anti-mafia response. Major responses: 980s Maxi trial, led by judges Falcone and Borsellino. Over 300 mafiosi were prosecuted. Anti-mafia legislation: creation of special laws, witness protection, and asset seizures. Pentiti, turncoats. Former members who turned state's evidence provided crucial insights. RICO laws, USA, helped in prosecuting. Cosa Nostra activities in the U.S. decline. Since the 1990s, continuous police pressure, societal rejection, and the decline of political support have weakened the mafia. However, it continues in less violent, more business-like forms. Modern-day Cosa Nostra, still present in Palermo and western Sicily, but under constant surveillance, maintains some influence through white-collar crime, cybercrime, and financial fraud. Faces competition from other organized crime groups like the 'Ndrangheta, Camorra, and foreign syndicates. Key figures in Cosa Nostra: history Salvatore, Toto, Riina, 1930-2017, nicknamed the Beast for his brutality, head of the Corleonesi faction, ordered the murder of judges Falcone and Borsellino, 1992. Captured in 1993 after 23 years as a fugitive, responsible for over 100 killings. Bernardo Provenzano, 1933-2016, Riina's successor, known as the Tractor, led with a low-profile, business-oriented strategy, captured in 2006 after 43 years on the run. Tommaso Buscetta, 1928-2000, first high-ranking mafioso to turn informant, pentito. His testimony during the Maxi trial, 1986-1992, exposed the structure and rituals of the mafia, fled to the US, later testified in American courts as well. Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino, two of the most respected anti-mafia magistrates, led investigations that led to hundreds of convictions, murdered in separate bombings in 1992, events that turned public opinion massively against the mafia. Major events in Cosa Nostra. History Maxi trial, 1986-1992, held in a fortified courtroom in Palermo. Over 300 mafiosi tried. 19 life sentences and hundreds of years in prison were handed down. Testimonies by Buscetta and other pentiti were crucial. Second Mafia War, 1981-1983. Bloody conflict between Corleonesi faction and Palermo-based families. Hundreds of mafiosi killed. Corleonesi emerged dominant, setting the stage for Riina's reign. 92. Murders, Falcone and Borsellino, sparked massive public outrage and state backlash. Led to the Article 41bis prison regime, which isolates mafia prisoners from communication. Anti-mafia. Sentiment surged. Thousands marched in Palermo. International reach and connections. United States Cosa Nostra had deep ties with the American Mafia, also called La Cosa Nostra. Many Sicilian mafiosi emigrated to the US in the early 1900s. The Pizza Connection, 1970s-80s, was a major heroin trafficking ring involving both US and Sicilian mafias. Notable American Sicilian mobsters: Lucky Luciano, Joe Bonanno, Carlo Gambino. Some had direct Sicilian roots. South America and Europe used for drug transit routes, especially cocaine from Colombia. Involved in money laundering through European financial systems. Ties with the 'Ndrangheta in Calabria and Camorra. In Naples, though often rivals. Cultural impact. Media and literature. The mafia has inspired countless books, films, and TV shows. The Godfather, based partly on real events and people. Gomorrah focuses more on Camorra. Il Capo dei Capi, TV miniseries. On Riina, often romanticized in fiction, which the mafia has exploited to build mystique and fear. Symbols and rituals. Induction ceremonies involve pricking a finger, burning a saint's image, and swearing allegiance. Language. Mafia members use coded language and symbolic gestures. Dress and demeanor. Traditionally discreet, flamboyance was frowned upon until the 1980s. Current status and future modern form. More hidden, avoids violence to avoid police attention. Focused on white-collar crime, political manipulation, and fraud. Uses front businesses to launder money and infiltrate legal markets. Challenges: constant law enforcement surveillance. Competition from 'Ndrangheta, dominant in drug trade. Camorra, more chaotic but influential. Eastern European and African crime syndicate strengths. Deep cultural roots in some parts of Sicily. A legacy of fear and tradition still gives them leverage in rural areas. Capacity. To adapt and infiltrate new sectors, like renewable energy, EU funding, and cybercrime. Rituals initiation, and omerta, initiation. Rite, Cosa Nostra's initiation is a secret, sacred ceremony symbolizing full entry into the family. A prick on the finger draws blood. A holy card, usually a saint, is set alight and passed hand to hand. The initiate swears a blood oath to the family, declaring loyalty until death. Phrase often recited, "May my flesh burn like this saint if I betray." Omerta, the code of silence. Omerta is central to mafia culture. It demands absolute silence about criminal activities to outsiders, especially law enforcement. Breaking. Omerta was punishable by death until the emergence of pentiti, state witnesses, challenged this rule. It also extends to victims and bystanders, creating a climate of fear and complicity in mafia territories. 13. Differences from other Italian mafias and 'ndrangheta, Calabria. Currently more powerful globally, especially in the cocaine trade. Stronger familial ties, based almost entirely on blood relations. More decentralized but harder to infiltrate. Less historically violent than the Cosa Nostra, but extremely secretive. Camorra, Naples. More fragmented, chaotic and violent. Operates more openly in the streets. Heavily involved in counterfeit goods, drug trafficking, and urban control. More visible in urban slums, and tends to have shorter leadership lifespans. Sacra Corona Unita, Apulia, smaller. And younger, formed in the 1980s as a response to other mafias, moving into Apulia. Operates more in smuggling, arms trade, and human trafficking, especially via Balkan routes. 14. Infiltration of the state and economy. Political infiltration. Mafia has historically used clientelism to influence local politics, especially in Sicily. Numerous mayors, MPs, and officials have been exposed as having links to Cosa Nostra, the Andreotti affair, 1990s. Former Italian Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti was accused of mafia ties, economic penetration, deeply embedded in construction, waste management, agriculture, and public contracts. Known for rigging public tenders, offering discounts in exchange. For silence or complicity, involved in renewable energy scams and EU subsidies fraud in recent years. Laundering operations include buying up real estate, restaurants, and shell companies,